Esteemed council members, my name is Todd Hoover. I'm here on behalf of the Democratic Club of the Santa Clarita Valley to ask for an extension of the public comment period for the OVOV plan. We have sent a letter to all of you regarding this, and I also emailed you on this, and I have more copies which I'll pass out to you after I've read a select part of the letter. Anyway, the purpose of this letter is to request adequate time to review the massive quantity of documents that comprise the OVOV and to ask the question of how the general plan was written without commissioning a citizens-based general plan advisory committee. It is urgent that this item be placed on the agenda as soon as possible. We are aware that the legal allocation of time for review is 45 days, and the city has already made 150 days available. We do thank the city very much for this additional time. However, the issue is not whether more time than the minimum was granted, but whether the time granted is adequate. Even 150 days of time does not allow for careful review and understanding of the documents that will define the future of our Santa Clarita Valley for decades to come. Given the girth of this critical document, some 12,000 pages total, and the fact that the final version was only released at the start of the review period, it would be necessary to read 80 pages for each of the 150 available days, each and every day. None of us has done so, and we would believe that you have not done so either. In addition, the Los Angeles County Planning OVOV document counterpart, supposedly almost identical to the city document, is in fact very different. It also is nearly 4 feet thick. In reality, this means that Santa Clarita Valley citizens would be required to read and understand 8 feet of material in order to be able to make cogent comments regarding their future. Understanding both plans would mean studying 160 pages each day during the review period. Clearly, this burden is impossible for your constituents to bear. There is a vital aspect to this review period that must not be overlooked. It may be said by staff members that comments will still be accepted under the legal review period has expired. However, that misses the point. The issue is whether comments submitted to the city and county record will get written response, be analyzed by staff and consultants, and be included as part of the public hearings that will occur after the review period has concluded and become part of the so-called final environmental impact report. Unless the formal comment period is extended, the public need will not be met. So we're basically asking for another year because of the massive amount of information in this plan. And I'm going to give you copies of this request.
Thank you. Minerva Williams, to be followed by Cam Noltemeyer, to be followed by Carol Letness.
My name is Minerva Williams, and I'm the Vice President of the Santa Clarita Valley Democratic Club. I'm concerned about the findings of the Army Corps of Engineers regarding the effects of the bacteria, the PCE, and the TCEs that will be left over after the phosphates have been removed at the Bermite site, which I understand are necessary in order to accommodate the transportation request that's inside the OVOV plan. I wanted to know if it's clear whether or not the stadium well will be shut down. What effect will this have on the traffic model that will require the soil to show clear signs? Understandably, in looking at the circulation element that's on page 13 and 15, I'd also like to know, since the 1980 state law, will the level of traffic be supervening any gridlock streets? I understand that 3,000 to 4,000 housing is needed in order to generate money for the roads. Has there been serious consideration for industrial building instead? And this is based on the TCSC report that indicates that the Bermite area is only eligible for 2% of the 1,000-acre of area that's safe for building. But is this based on the assumption that Via Presenza will connect with Santa Clarita Parkway, which doesn't even exist yet? Is it true that the cash to build the necessary bridges and thoroughfare will need to be at least apartment buildings in order to generate immediate cash? And this is why Lewis Operating Corporation is willing to help with the guarantee? I'd like to know the process of requesting the Public Record Act to see the red line draft version requesting changes with the consultants and staff, so then we can clearly examine the city's portion and the county portions to see what the differences are. And lastly, I'd like to know, why did the City of Santa Clarita Council not exercise its authority to hold a public hearing on the fundamental questions of what methodology was going to be used to create the OVO general plan? And why has the citizen-based general plan advisory committee not used in the plan's creation? Who on the staff made the decision not to have a GPAC? And why was the decision never presented to the Santa Clarita Valley City Council in hearing? Had it been answered in the letter that I sent you, maybe those answers I could have asked you at that time. And I did email this, Todd did email the information to you, and I'm available for any other questions that you might have, but I am representing quite a few people when I express these concerns. Thank you.
Thank you. Our last speaker is Allan Cameron.
Thank you very much, Mayor McLean. Allan Cameron speaking with you this evening on behalf of the Democratic Club of Santa Cruz Valley as the president of that organization, the oldest grassroots democratic organization in the Santa Cruz Valley, chartered in the early 1970s. Let me share with you some reasons why someone may tell you that granting additional time for comment and review of the general plan isn't necessary. Someone may tell you we don't need additional time because we're going to have a lot of hearings on the general plan. We're going to take a lot of input. We will listen to what people have to say. So extending the comment period is not necessary. Let me share with you why that needs to be set aside as a justification for closing off the comment period. The reason is the time for which written analysis and response is available to the public is now over. It ended at 5 o'clock this evening. That's why this letter was delivered to City Hall on the 2nd of February, but a response, to the best of my knowledge, to that letter has not been forthcoming as of yet. What I just mentioned could not be more critical. The comments, the analysis, the very future of this community for the next 30 to 40 years must be analyzed, must be understood, must be broadly dispersed to the public. And again, if you do not reopen the comment period, because it ended today, so that written analysis and response to what people have to say about their future can be fed back to the community, then yes, in testimony, yes, in hearings, comments will be accepted. They will not be analyzed. You need that analysis. You need the time to review these documents. They are I'm 6 feet 3 inches tall. If you put both versions of it in front of you, the stack is literally that high. It would require that during the review period you would have read 160 pages every single day for the 150 days that the general plans, both of them, the county and the city, were out for review. Now, if you do grant the additional time, critical issues that need to be understood by this community can be done so very thoroughly. You may also hear that we've had innumerable and voluminous public exposure to the general plan. If you go through the records as I have done, however, and you take out the names of the usual suspects, people such as myself, less than 100 people have seen the general plan or been a participant in a review as to its significance and meaning. So in conclusion this evening, please direct that the comment period be reopened, and that the comments during the extended period of time that should take place be responded to in writing. Ellesmere Canyon, the EIR, was reviewed for a year. Cemex Sand and Gravel Mine, the EIR was reviewed for a year. They were smaller projects than the future of this community and its general plan.
With regard to the extending comment period for OVOV, This item still is in front of the Planning Commission. The Planning Commission has already extended the time period one time. They could, if they wanted to, extend the time period again. They could reopen the public hearing, give them more time. But it really would be unusual at this point for the council to intervene or take action on an item that still is in front of the Planning Commission. And there was a couple comments made about that we should have had some type of citizen committee. We did so much more than that this time. I think we've worked on OVOV for 10 years. I mean, it's not like we're trying to ramrod this thing through. And we have had scores of public meetings, I think hundreds if I'm not mistaken, but certainly scores. We've had a lot of opportunity for people to input in public meetings, on the computer, in focus groups. I mean, we have done so much more input this time than just a citizen advisory committee. And really, citizen advisory committee with all the technology that people have now is somewhat old school, that it provides input for maybe the 20 or 30 or however many people end up on the committee, but really excludes the rest of the community. And that's why we've tried to broaden it and had input from a huge number of people. The comments with regard to Bermite, I would request that Ms. Williams comes to an open house with Lewis Company tomorrow. That's right here at City Hall at 5 o'clock, and can meet them. I can assure that some of the concerns that she expressed about the project are the same concerns that the council has expressed, and that is why you have mentioned on many occasions that you're interested in redoing the development agreement, coming up with a new project, which is exactly why we have Lewis, that the community can meet tomorrow. I think that concludes my comments, Mayor.